Where are the Fretlands, Edward?
It's been 2 days. If they're not back tonight...
They're not coming back.
Perhaps they left after their daughter died.
Was murdered, you mean? Isn't that what we think happened?
Perhaps she fell by accident.
So you don't think it was murder?
It's difficult to say with any certainty. The boy could have pushed her.
You're really not helping.
Can we talk about this tomorrow? I'm sorry.
You're exhausted.
I buried a corpse today, Alice.
I know. I'm sorry. Why don't you sleep in the guest bedroom?
The couch is fine. The Fretlands could still come home.
All right. Just don't come crying to me if you wake up with a crick in your neck. I'll be up for a while, if you feel like talking.
Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück bei Draugen. Wir sind auf dem Weg im Bett. Ein bisschen
What did you find?
Someone tried to burn this.
Just like the book. Isn't that odd?
It's addressed to Mrs. Fretland. My dearest Anna. It's from her sister, Margaret. Frederick's wife. The two brothers married sisters, remember?
Yes, and it's adorable. Keep reading.
I really shouldn't.
Really? How else are we going to figure out what happened? Keep reading.
My dearest Anna, I miss you so very, very much. The baby is due soon, and I wish for our family to reunite before... It's been 7 years since the dreadful incident at the mine. Can we not convince Frederick and Johann to forgive and forget? I know there are things Frederick has not told me about what they found and why they parted ways. Their grudge is tearing us all apart. Frederick won't even let me speak to half of our neighbors, accusing them of treason. He's so very angry and full of regrets. It's eating him up. And we...
And we what?
The rest is unreadable.
Margaret reached out to her sister, but I guess it didn't work.
This was written before Simon was born, but burned recently.
Öffne doch. Öffne doch, öffne doch, öffne doch.
Now that we know what happened to Ruth, this empty house is even spookier.
It's a house, nothing more.
You know better than most that souls can linger. Especially if they died
There's no such thing as a soul.
Life force. Ghost. Whatever. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
The only ghosts are in our minds.
Says you.
Ich muss mal eben die Maus ein bisschen höher machen. So, das war mehr. Aber wenn ich dann... Das war schon wieder ein bisschen zu viel. Sonst flackert das Bild, wenn ich die Maus so hoch habe. Aber ich denke mal, so geht's dann.
Now that we know what happened to Ruth, this empty house is even spookier.
It's a house, nothing more. The two brothers married twin sisters, Anna and Margaret Taylor. That's the Grovik stave church behind them.
All those hopes and dreams, ground to dust by misfortune.
These headlines make more sense now. Johann sells his share, and the cave-in occurs shortly thereafter, killing 3 people.
Including the younger brother.
The investor pulls out, leaving Frederick with the bills.
Oh, I feel awful for everyone. Losing a brother, losing the business.
There were no happy endings here.
Was denn jetzt? Spiel pausiert? Nein. Warum? Ich wollte doch nur schauen.
You do look exhausted.
Oh.
Go to bed, Edward. I'll tuck you in.
Komischer Spiegel.
What are you doing?
Betty will want these back.
I don't think it's healthy
Not now, please. I'm exhausted.
So, können wir jetzt schlafen? Na, jetzt können wir schlafen. Erstmal den
Quite
Hut
the day,
platzieren.
I'm ready to pass out. Where will you sleep?
I'll be up for a while. My mind's simply racing.
Don't stay up late. Wake me if you hear the Fretlands arriving.
Of course. And I'll keep my eyes open for any ghosts that might want to haunt you in your sleep.
There are no...
Hush now. Sleep.
Tag 3. Ups. Jetzt haben wir schon einen Schal, ein Foto und einen Hut. Ob wir noch ein Kleid finden? Guten Morgen.
Lissy!
I'm upstairs. Teddy? Is that you?
Wo ist er denn? Sollen wir das alles lesen? Haben wir das schon gelesen oder müssen wir das noch alles lesen? Oh mein Gott. Ich habe Mr. Hahn geschrieben, um ihn zu uns einzuladen. Ich bin furchtbar aufgeregt. Ich mache mir aber Sorgen um seine Schwester, wo sie wohl sein könnte. Können wir das nicht? Heute früh gab es einen Streit im Laden. Frederik schrie die arme Astrid an, weil ihre Ziegen angeblich auf seinem Land gegrast haben. Ich wollte mich einmischen, doch das hätte ihn nur noch wütender gemacht. 10. August 1923. Jahren hat heute Morgen den Fjord überquert, um ein paar Einkäufe unter anderem Stoff zu machen und die Post zu holen. Die Briefe stapeln sich im Laden. Manchmal mache ich mir Sorgen, dass die Welt da draußen uns vergisst. 17. August. Jahren hat heute Morgen den Fjord... Ich habe heute ein weiteres Kleid zu Ende genäht. Dieses Mal behalte ich es. Ich habe keine Kunden mehr. Niemand hier braucht ein weiteres Kleid und es ist Ewigkeiten her, seit wir die Stadt besucht haben. Außerdem kenne ich kaum jemanden dort und warum sollte man ein Kleid aus Gravik haben wollen, wenn man auch ein Kleid aus Alesund kaufen kann. Ich fühle mich heute einsam. Ich vermisse meine liebe Margret so sehr, auch nach all den Jahren noch. 20. August. Ich glaube, Ruth verbirgt etwas vor mir. Sie benimmt sich geheimnistuerisch und sie ist auch öfters allein draußen und ihre Kleidung ist schmutzig. Es macht mir natürlich nichts aus, dass sie spielt und die Gegend erkundet. Ich finde es schade, dass Margret und ich das nicht durften, als wir jung waren. Ruth sagt, dass sie nach Blumen und hübschen Steinen sucht. Ich sollte mir nicht solche Sorgen machen. 21. August. Simon kam heute mit einem Geschenk für Ruth vorbei. Eine ganze Tafel Schokolade. Er ist ein netter Junge, aber Frederik wäre zornig, wenn er davon erfahren würde. 22. August. Ich fragte Ruth, ob sie bei Frederiks Farm oder der alten Mine spielt. Sie versprach mir, das nicht zu tun. Ich hatte noch nie einen Grund, ihr nicht zu vertrauen, aber ich spüre noch immer, dass sie etwas vor mir verheimlicht. Während sie draußen war, habe ich mir ihre Zeichnung angesehen. Sie hat so eine lebhafte Vorstellungskraft. 5. September. Wir haben einen weiteren Brief von Mr. Harden erhalten. Er kommt wie geplant im Oktober. Ich freue mich darauf, mich mit jemand anderem unterhalten zu können. Mein Gott. Wenn auch nur ein paar Tage lang. Nicht, dass ich Johanns Gesellschaft nicht mögen würde, aber abseits unserer täglichen Routine haben wir nicht viel zu besprechen. Von Mr. Hahns Schwester gibt es bislang keine Spur. Wenn sie Alesund vor Wochen verlassen hat, wo steckt sie dann bloß? Sie hat auf dem Weg vielleicht einen Zwischenstopp eingelegt. Wir haben nichts gehört. Aber wir sprechen auch nur selten mit Menschen außerhalb von Gravik. Ich hoffe sehr, dass es ihr gut geht. Ich würde es verdrießlich finden, wenn Mr. Hahn den ganzen Weg hierhin umsonst machen würde. Ruth ist noch immer verschlossen. Ich weiß, dass sie etwas versteckt. Demnächst werde ich ihr folgen. 9. September. Auch heute gab es keine Messe. Der Vikar ist seit der Gedenkfeier im Juli nicht zurückgekommen. Johann glaubt, dass er auch nicht wiederkommt, dass er Gravik aufgegeben hat. Wie alle anderen auch. Ich glaube, ich habe mir eine Erkältung gefangen. 15. September. Jemand hat in der Nacht unser Boot beschädigt. Das ist schon das 3. diesen Monat. Johann verdächtigt natürlich Frederik. Ich fürchte, da kocht nach all den Jahren wieder etwas hoch. Ich fühle mich nicht gut, habe gestern und heute die meiste Zeit im Bett verbracht. Ruth war lieb und hat mir Kartoffelsuppe und Tee mit Honig und Milch gebracht. 18. September. Sie hat uns verlassen. Unsere Ruth ist tot. Ich kann nicht glauben, dass Simon das getan hat. Er ist nun auch tot und mit ihm alle Hoffnung, die Gravik noch hatte. Das war bestimmt der Gehängte, oder? Wo ist die denn jetzt? Okay, ist das Kinderzimmer.
This is her room.
Hmm?
Are you paying attention? Ruth. Can you imagine? One moment you're living a perfectly happy life, and then nothing. Darkness. Forever and ever. Maybe there's something here that can tell us what happened to her.
This is a waste of my time.
We might be the only ones left to tell her story, Edward.
You're just being melodramatic. I'll help you look. There's still no sign of the Fretlands.
Maybe they left town after Ruth died.
What's the point of this? I should be looking for Betty.
I hate you sometimes.
Ja, ich suche hier schon.
Draugen.
Hey, the undead monster from those folk tales you read.
What an odd book for a child to have.
I don't know. Children love scary stories. This looks interesting. Read some of it to me, please.
Nein. Och Mann. Hoffentlich liest er alleine.
In Norwegian folklore, the appearance of Draugen, the reanimated corpse of a drowned mariner, heralds death. Draugen haunts the black seas in a shattered boat. The beast has a man's body and wears a sou'wester, but instead of a head, there is tangled seaweed, and the revenant's chilling cry freezes mortal blood to ice. Draugen has the power to enter the dreams of the living. If you wake from such a dream, you have been spared, though someone close to you... That's enough of that. It's nonsense, of course. Not something a child should be reading.
Do you think Draugen took our boat? Maybe he's out there, on the fjord, waiting for nightfall so he can return to shore.
No.
Your soul lacks poetry, Edward Charles Harden. I pity you.
So, hier vielleicht alleine oder sucht die vielleicht
She made her
Mama
bed
mit?
that morning. Before she...
Or her parents did. It doesn't matter. It tells us nothing.
Why are you like this today? Betty's not the only person in the world that matters.
She matters the most to me.
Ain't that the truth? Ruth was an artist.
This is very primitive.
Have you ever met a child, Edward? She wasn't Monet, she was 8. This must be the village church. That's Ruth and her family on one side of the aisle, Simon and his father on the other.
A community divided.
She found something.
Where's that supposed to be?
A cave. Or the...
Mine. It could be. But what did she find?
something important enough to draw.
Ein Schatz. Ein Kelch, eine Kette. Sieht auf jeden Fall so aus. Man kann aber gut malen.
That must be Ruth and Simon's fathers.
Perhaps. They weren't on the best of terms.
They look like they want to kill each other.
To a child, maybe it looked worse than it was.
Children are more insightful than you give them credit for, Teddy Bear. Ruth never finished this. What does that spell? F-O-R-B.
For Banelson. The curse.
Who's that figure supposed to be? It's creepy. It looks a bit like the Draugen in her book.
A figment of her imagination. But the box she drew... It looks like this box under her desk.
Really? Let me see. Pull it out.
Eine Kiste. Mal auf.
What is this?
I believe this might qualify as actual treasure.
Is that Norwegian money?
Sort of, but ancient. Viking coins.
Are they valuable?
Not in terms of monetary value, but historically. Well, they belong in a museum.
Looks like Ruth had her own private museum.
Why would a child have these artifacts?
She must have enjoyed collecting and playing with them.
These are much too precious to play with. She should have given these to an adult.
She was a child, Edward. To her, they were just shiny toys. Wait! The pin! On the doll!
This is where it came from, her collection.
But where did she find these treasures?
If we're to believe her drawing, perhaps the mine. She may have found a gravesite. Wherever she found them, she wanted to keep them hidden.
You think someone found out?
These items wouldn't necessarily be worth much, except to a historian or archaeologist.
What if this is how... I mean, if someone learned she'd been collecting treasures, they might be willing to do terrible things.
Nehmen können wir aber nichts.
There's a story here. The treasure box, the drawings.
The overactive mind of an imaginative child.
Well, she didn't imagine the Viking artifacts. You shouldn't be so dismissive. The drawings could be her way of dealing with traumatic events.
This is what happens when I read you the principles of psychology. You get notions.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Ruth was troubled. The village was troubled, and... Is that a bell?
The church bell. Someone's here. Maybe... Betty.
Why would Betty ring the church bell?
Perhaps she's in trouble. I need to get to the church right now.
Wait, isn't it more likely to be the person you saw the other night? We should be careful.
I told you, I'm not sure that was anything. Come on.
Go ahead. I'll catch up with you before you get there. I need a minute to think about all of this.
Okay. Gehen wir zur Kirche. Kann auch irgendwie mal schneller. Ja, ich komme. Den Weg zur Kirche. Na, hopp, 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 beeil dich mal. Oh. Schnell, 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 sonst ist er wieder weg. Oh, kann ja nicht schneller rennen. Berg hoch. Ich hoffe, ich habe den richtigen Weg. Oh, da bin ich.
All these fresh graves.
No one's touched these since...
Who did this?
Someone who'd lost their faith.
Gone fishing?
God is not here.
Well, of course he isn't. You won't find God in a church. God is the wind in the trees, the grass between your toes, the brook that runs
That's
through.
nature, not God.
Can you peek through the boards? See anyone?
No,
Listen! The bell! They're still in there!
Ich sehe nix.
Hello? I heard the bell!
Oh, this is giving me
I'm
the
here to help.
heebie-jeebies.
These boards look flimsy enough to break.
Ja, schlag sie ein. Schlag sie ein. Reiß sie raus. Hopp. Sofort.
Look at that. The Ethel becomes an Edward. I didn't think you had it in you, old fruit.
Be quiet. Betty? Are you here? Hello?
Was sollte
This is
die denn in
Edward
die
Hartman.
Kirche?
I'm looking for my sister,
Stop
Elizabeth.
shouting, Edward. We're alone. There are only ghosts here.
There are no ghosts.
I don't know about that.
Lissy, look. Betty's gloves. They are definitely Betty's.
Oh, for
She got
Pete's
these
sake.
Sachen für
in
die
Boston
Puppe.
before she left for New York. She bought them at Woolworth. I remember the day she...
In Woolworth. In
She's
Woolworth
here.
hat sie gekauft.
Where? And why would she leave her clothes lying around? It doesn't make sense.
Breadcrumbs. She's sending me a message. She knew I'd recognize her gloves, her hat. She's left a trail for me to follow, like Ariadne's red thread.
We're not in a labyrinth.
Betty will have left more crumbs.
Betty, you're turning into such a pill.
War da nicht gerade ein Geräusch? Wieder ein Brief.
What happened here?
The sign on the door. God is not here. Their faith was challenged, and it didn't survive.
Wird jetzt die Glocke geläutet? Das kann ich nicht lesen, nicht.
The final dinner.
The Last Supper. Who taught you about the New Testament?
I pick up on things. Most folks aren't heathens, like you. Isn't this a fire hazard?
They're not always lit. Each candle represents a single prayer.
That's a lot of prayers.
There were a lot of deaths. The church book, a record of births and deaths.
So we can find out what happened to the people in the village?
And, Elizabeth. I mean, if she was dead...
Her name would be in the book.
Vandals. Tore it to pieces.
I don't think the missing pages left the church. Look.
Jetzt kann ich's aufheben.
How many pages are missing?
I counted 4.
They're probably all still here. I know. Let's make it a competition. 1-0 to Team Me. I wanted you to find that one. I know what a rotten loser you are. I've never seen you read the Bible before.
I've read the Bible many times. It's an important historical document. For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
Did you just translate that into Old English?
I happen to know the verse by heart.
You still manage to surprise me sometimes.
Ooh.
Jesus looks sad.
What reason would Jesus have to be happy?
Don't be blasphemous.
Given that this is all fiction, blasphemy is a contradiction.
Heretic.
They considered this a sacred place. For them to destroy it. What are you doing? We're in a church.
Was macht die denn da?
Found another one. You get it. It's right here.
In der Kirche.
Just one more page missing. What's this rope for?
The bell.
This is the bell we heard ringing?
I don't see any other bells.
So you have to stand here and pull this rope to ring it.
Yes.
But there was no one here. You didn't see anyone, right?
No. No one.
Ghosts. I'm telling you. It's ghosts. So what happened to the hunchback of Grovik?
They must be here still. There's only the one exit.
Maybe it was the wind.
A church bell's too heavy. It can't have been the wind. I mean... I don't know. Maybe it was the wind. There's no one here.
I don't like that sound. Please stop. Stop it.
Ja, sehr gut, Mann.
Isn't this a fire hazard?
They're not always lit. Each candle represents a single prayer.
That's a lot of prayers.
There were a lot of deaths.
2 for 2. A tie. Good job, Teddy, old
Stop,
bean.
Lissy. This is not a game. Betty's out there.
Of horse feathers. Stop being so gosh darn tedious, Edward.
Boah, die quatschen
Bitty,
aber immer so
bitty, will you
viel.
ever shut up? What's that?
The last sermon that was held here.
What does it say?
The vicar's handwriting is hard to decipher, and the language. He talks about the village being divided for 20 years. This sermon was held on the anniversary of the accident this past summer. He's asking the congregation to help heal old wounds, to forgive, move on. Something to the effect of, you sit in separate aisles in God's house.
Like Ruth's drawing. I told you, she was perceptive.
It sounds like Grovik was split in two, between those who stood by Johann and those who supported Frederick.
Because of Ruth?
This sermon is from before that. No, this is all about the preceding 20 years of division and disagreements. Tilly Verandre.
Edward?
Forgive each other. It addresses Johann and Frederick directly. But I wonder if they were even here.
Remember the wedding picture? They were close friends once. How could they allow their grudge to escalate until...
You call each other traitors, but the only thing you've betrayed are the bonds that unite us. Here's something else. Many of you believe Grovik was cursed 20 years ago. God has not cursed you. This curse is of your own making.
Ruth's drawing mentioned a curse. What do you think that means?
It means they believed they were cursed, and that they needed something or someone to blame for their misfortune.
So, wir haben jetzt die Zettel gefunden. Und das machen wir in der nächsten Folge. Also wenn es euch gefallen hat, lasst ein Like, ein Abo da. Ist alles kostenlos. Ich würde mich freuen. Bis dann. Tschüss.